Shlomo and hi, greetings. This is Elke with Abunde Bashmayo in Prescott, Arizona. It's been a while since we've seen each other on video. I've been a bit busy, but I thought I would do a video today because there's something that I've been thinking through the last few days, and I just wanted to share that with you. So when I was a Protestant, I worshipped in churches that were pretty much bare bones type of churches. So you didn't have decorations or iconography or altar areas per se, but most of them were simply a very simple room with chairs set up, and then in the front there would be a platform of sorts, and this is where you would find the worship band, so the drums, the guitar, whatever was there. And then there was also a spot where the pastor would get up there and give a sermon, which was the key feature of the Protestant service, worship service. And I never thought this through, even though I'm an ardent student of the Old Testament. When I was in seminary, I did 2 masters in seminary, I think I've mentioned that, and my focus was Old Testament. And yet I never really applied what I was reading there to the modern day New Testament church. But I've kind of really thought this through now, and as an Orthodox, I see the beauty of our churches, I see the beauty of the iconography, I see the beauty of the altar areas, and it really struck me afresh when I was just reading in Exodus, or the second book of Moses in the Bible, the second book of the Torah, of the first 5 books of the Bible, also called the Pentateuch, where we read about how God asked Moses to direct certain people to build the tent of meeting, right? So the tabernacle where he would ultimately meet with Moses and speak to him face to face as a man speaks with his friend, as is described. But before all that could happen, they had to build this tabernacle. So they had left Mount Sinai and they're now traveling through the desert for 40 years. And just prior to all of this happening, Moses is being given instruction where he's being told to give the community, the camp of the Israelites, certain instructions. And I want to read to you about that. So I am reading actually out of the what's called the NET Bible, the New English Translation. It's kind of a interesting Bible because it gives you a lot of the language backgrounds. I don't have an Old Testament Peshitta, so in English. So if somebody wants to buy me one and send me one or point me to one, please do. But let me, let me read to you from Exodus chapter 35, starting in verse 4. Moses spoke to the whole community of the Israelites. This is the word that the Lord has commanded. Take an offering for the Lord. Let everyone who has a willing heart bring an offering to the Lord. Gold, silver, bronze, blue, purple, and scarlet yarn, fine linen, goat's hair, ram skins dyed red, fine leather, acacia wood, olive oil for the light, spices for the anointing oil and for the fragrant incense, onyx stones and other gems for mounting on the ephod and the breastpiece. So this is the Lord telling Moses, ask the Israelites to donate the best that they can give for the building of the tabernacle. And he didn't just leave it at that. He actually appointed 2 men. So he's saying in verse 30 of chapter 35, he says, Moses said to the Israelites, see, the Lord has chosen Bezalel, son of Uri, the son of Hur, of the tribe of Judah. He has filled him with the Spirit of God, with skill, with understanding, with knowledge, and in all kinds of work, to design artistic designs, to work in gold and silver and in bronze, and in cutting stones for their setting, and in cutting wood, to do work in every artistic craft. And he has put it in his heart to teach he and Oholiab, son of Ahisamach, of the tribe of Dan. He has filled them with skill to do all kinds of work as craftsmen, as designers, as embroiderers in blue, purple, and scarlet yarn, and in fine linen, and as weavers. They are craftsmen in all the work and artistic designers. So these 2 men, plus a number of other skilled people that would be called, they have been given this skill from the Lord. It says so in verse 1 of chapter 36, to do all the work for the service of the sanctuary. So they are to build this beautiful tabernacle. And as they're now collecting all these things, they're starting to work. And in chapter 36, we actually get the message that Moses was actually forced to make an announcement to the broader congregation that they should stop giving because so much had come in, right? So it was actually that Moses had to make an announcement in, let's see, where are we? So in chapter 36, verse 5, it says, or let's start in 4. So all the skilled people who were doing all the work on the sanctuary came from the work they were doing and told Moses, the people are bringing much more than is needed for the completion of the work which the Lord commanded us to do. So Moses instructed them to take his message throughout the camp, saying, let no man or woman do any more work for the offering of the sanctuary. So the people were restrained from bringing any more. I mean, guys, this is how much the Israelites were willing to give from the bottom of their heart to build this beautiful tabernacle that would be the place where God would dwell with them for the 40 years they were going through the desert. I imagine this. They, out of the kindness of their own heart, they're bringing all these things, and they have to be told, stop, it's enough. So we also read that once they were done with all of this, so I mean, it was amazing. If you read chapters 35 through 40, you can read all the instructions of how exactly they were to weave the fabrics for the material to make the tent of tabernacle, how they are to make the ephod with all its gold and the jewels that would be set in it, how to make the tables where the showbread would be, the making of the lampstands. Everything is described in great, great detail. The ark, of course, how that is supposed to look with the cherubim spreading their wings over the top where God would actually sit and be with them as they are going through the desert. So again, God doesn't have a body, but proverbially sit with them. So that was his seat as they were traveling through the desert. And it's really amazing. And then there finally it goes into the making of the priestly garments in chapter 39. And I'll read you just about what the ephod looked like, the breastplate and the shoulder pieces that the Aaron, the priest, had. So it says in verse 2 of chapter 39, he made the ephod of gold, blue, purple, scarlet, and fine twisted linen. They hammered the gold into thin sheets and cut it into narrow strips to weave them into the blue, purple, and scarlet yarn, and into the fine linen, the work of an artistic designer. They made shoulder pieces for it, attached it to 2 of its corners so it could be joined together. The artistically woven waistband of the ephod that was on it was like it of one piece with it, of gold, blue, purple, and scarlet yarn, and fine twisted linen, just as the Lord had commanded Moses. Now here's the part with the breastplate. They set the onyx stones in gold filigree settings, engraved as with the engravings of a seal, with the names of the sons of Israel. He put them on the shoulder pieces of the ephod as stones of memorial for the Israelites, just as the Lord had commanded Moses. He made the breastpiece, the work of an artistic designer, in the same fashion as the ephod, of gold, blue, purple, and scarlet, and fine twisted linen. It was square. They made the breastpiece doubled, 9 inches long and 9 inches wide when doubled. They set on it 4 rows of stones. A row with a ruby, a topaz, and a beryl, the first row, and the second row a turquoise, a sapphire, and an emerald. And the third row a jacinth, an agate, and an amethyst. And the fourth row a chrysolite, an onyx, and a jasper. They were enclosed in gold filigree settings. And it goes on to talk about the names of the tribes of Israel being engraved there. I mean, imagine, this is beautiful workmanship, right? These are crafts worksmen that are doing the work to build the tabernacle tent. Even the gold, the rings that they were to make, to put the curtains up. It's just exquisite how this is all described, and what great detail and glory this is to happen. Once this was all done, all the work was done, they set up the tabernacle. And in chapter 40, we can read what God thinks about that. So it says, let's see, in chapter 40, verses, where am I? Let me see, find the right place here. In chapter 34, then the cloud, so this is God, residing there, covered the tent of meeting, and the glory of the Lord filled the tabernacle. Moses was not able to enter the tent of meeting because the cloud settled on it, and the glory of the Lord filled the tabernacle. There's God's stamp of approval. If we go to a later period, we are now in the time of King Solomon, and King Solomon has built the temple in Jerusalem. So the Israelites have made their way into the promised land, modern day Israel, but in Jerusalem, he now builds the temple. He's the son of King David. And it says now, same thing. I mean, beautifully decorated building. And as they're getting ready to now anoint this and initiate the temple service in it, what we're seeing is almost identical to what we saw with the tabernacle. So it says in chapter 8, verse 10 of 1 Kings, it says, once the priests left the holy place, a cloud filled the Lord's temple. The priests could not carry out their duties because of the cloud. The Lord's glory filled his temple. So I think we see again just exactly what God thinks of all this beauty and splendor, of the holiness of this place where he's being worshipped. First the tabernacle, now the permanent temple in Jerusalem. And I think, guys, we have to remember this. So when I was a Protestant, I kind of ignored that. I put that away. But why would anything have changed in the way that God actually sees beauty, in how he wants to be worshipped? So when I became Orthodox, it started to click that this has not gone away. It's really a continuation of this beauty that God expected in the Old Testament, in the tabernacle, in the temple, and how he was to be worshipped. And we now see this in the beauty that we see in our Orthodox churches. I'm just blessed every time I see the beautiful altars, the curtains, the iconography, the stained glass windows, everything that I've encountered in my walk as an Orthodox Christian now for more than 3 years by now. It just really strikes home that this is the way God chose to be worshipped. So one other thing I wanted to mention before I go. Remember the Israelites and their giving? Well, you know what? They gave freely. It was not like, hey, I have to pay a membership fee. No. None of that existed. They were giving out of the goodness of their heart. And even now, I think this membership fee idea is not good. That's my personal opinion. To me, the Bible clearly tells us to give 10% of our money, and to give it because God gave it to us first. Every good gift comes from him, right? So let me just encourage you maybe that you should be a little bit more generous in your giving. Maybe it's not 10%, maybe it's 2%, and then increase it to 3 and then 4 and kind of keep going up. Because you know what? If we all give from the bottom of our heart with great gratitude for God, we could build these beautiful temples to God where God is glorified and worshipped. And on top of that, we'd have plenty of money to also give to those that need, to also make mission a priority, taking the good news of Jesus Christ out into the streets to people that don't know him. So please, guys, think about that. I wrote about it on my Substack just yesterday. So if you're interested, my Substack is abundabashmayo.substack.com. I'll put it in here as well. I would love for you to come check it out and maybe read, maybe subscribe. But in the meantime, I hope you all have a very beautiful rest of your day. May the Lord bless and keep you until we see each other again. And with that, I'll say bye.